Hi guys, I'm back again with some more stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP's father, who is trying to pawn off his new family on OP, despite OP already raising his siblings. Listen to the story to find out all the details, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My family situation is a little complicated. Currently, I, 24 male, am living with my sisters, Hannah, 16, and May, 6. I had what I thought was a pretty normal family until senior year of high school when my father walked out on our family. He did this while our mom was sick with cancer. I watched him tell mom how he found the love of his life and he couldn't live a lie and a whole bunch of other nonsense. It broke her, and she died a couple of months later. These events devastated the family. I vowed I would never be like him and threw myself into my work and adulthood to try to keep together what was left of my family. My grandpa owns a bakery and is getting up in age, so I started helping at the bakery. After I graduated, I also learned how to bartend and was able to get a job at my aunt's bar where she told me the truth about my dad. How he was a charming person, but whenever things got a little tough, he folded quickly. How he bounced from job to job and the affairs. So things are tough, but we're making it work. At 4, May started asking about her father, so we all started family therapy. I had closed myself off to everybody but my family, but my therapist convinced me that this was not my fault, and last year I met a wonderful lady, Anne, who is going to grad school for computer science. Everything was going as well as it could until last month, when Dad reached out to me via email to say how sorry he was and wanting to make amends and get the family back together. My girlfriend poked around social media and came to find out that he lost his job for having an affair with a teacher's assistant at a Catholic school. She also found out that his current wife has some type of chronic disease, and because of the job loss, they were losing their home. A couple of days later, my sister Hannah comes home crying. School just started, and he showed up outside the school with the same story he told me. After this, we had a family meeting and kind of figured out that Dad was trying to do to his new family what he did to ours. But instead of straight out abandoning them, he was going to pawn them off on us. Things came to a head the other day when we took May to the park. Dad was there with a 5-year-old girl. At this point, I lost it. I confronted him with what I thought I knew. He hemmed and hawed, but those soulless eyes told me that he knew the gig was up. He asked us to at least take our half-sister in, but I told him to grow up and at least do the right thing with his new family. As he left, I heard the girl ask him when she is going to meet her big brother and sisters, and he said not today. So my girlfriend and aunt told me I did the right thing, but I can't stop thinking about that little girl and what is going to happen to her. I know that if Dad came back into our life, we would relive all those horrible moments a second time, and I can't inflict that on our family again. But at night I see that little girl holding Dad's hand and wonder if I was the a-hole. I don't think OP is in the wrong here. It's not OP's fault or his responsibility. OP has a good heart, feeling bad and even considering taking her in. If OP cannot because it doesn't work for his current family, he should not beat himself up over it. This is not OP's fault. OP is not doing anything to that little girl. OP's father is. So OP should not feel bad for making whatever the right choice for him and his family is. OP has been dealt an incredibly tough hand in life, and OP has exceeded and excelled through all of it. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. McKinno says, not the a-hole. Oh wow, your dad is a giant gaping a-hole for trying to manipulate you and your siblings like that, including the 5-year-old half-sister. That's unacceptable. Please don't feel bad. Someone else will take care of your half-sister. Don't entangle yourself further with your a-hole of a father. You did nothing wrong, and it sounds like you're still healing from him leaving you when you were in high school. So sorry you're in this situation, OP. Howard Project says, not the a-hole. Look, anyone who tells you that you're obligated to do more than you're already doing can go ahead and mail their worthless opinion and $10 to your dad, and then at least he's screwing over someone who deserves it. That said, of course the fact that you have a little half-sister who is going through exactly what you went through is going to bother you. But it's really strange that your father asked you to take the 5-year-old in, and her mother was nowhere in sight. A chronic illness is not the same as a fatal illness. You might want to get in touch with the mom. Not because you owe her anything, but because you might get a more accurate story. Odds are that your father's second wife also has family who are already acquainted with and love this child. Your dad is likely using your youngest to get to his older 3 children. Sia Nana 93 says, you're not the a-hole. Your family is still healing from the trauma he inflicted. If you let him back into your lives, it would set you all back and open up the wounds again. Honestly, virus hit me, 34 male, and my wife, 32 female, pretty hard. I was let go, and my wife's salary isn't sufficient to support the both of us and our son, 3 male. We resorted to selling a couple of our important possessions to make ends meet. My wife and I had both decided our marriage meant more than her wedding ring. We decided to pawn it and received a sufficient amount. The ring was a gift from my grandmother before she passed and meant a lot to her. However, extraordinary circumstances call for extraordinary measures. This was difficult for the both of us, but in the end, it helped us a lot. Fast forward to last week. I sold it around 8 months ago. I was in our weekly Zoom calls with my extended family, and my mother casually mentioned the ring to my sister, who is currently ring shopping and preparing to get married in the fall. She asked my wife to show it to her again, which called for a very awkward pause. We knew we'd have to tell them someday and eventually let it out. My mother and sister were livid. My sister screamed at my wife and said she would have just asked our grandmother for the ring for herself if she knew we'd sell it. We told her it was a dire situation, and technically, we'd received it as a gift, granting us the ability to sell it if we wanted to. Apparently, the ring meant more to my mother than anyone. I had no clue of its significance, including the fact that it was considered the family heirloom. If I would have known, my wife and I would have reconsidered selling it. My sister called a couple days later and apologized, and said she knew we were in a rough patch and how difficult it was for us. She asked why we didn't loan the money from her, and honestly, it did cross our mind, but the feeling of remaining debt-free was too good to pass. My wife and I had been in financial trouble earlier, where my sister's fiancé had helped us. We paid him back as soon as we could, but I still feel our relationship has been awkward ever since. My mother, however, is demanding we go back to the pawn shop and try to buy it from them. Since I was let go, I received another job offer and making around 1.5 times as much as I did earlier. Honestly, we're financially stable enough to rebuy the ring. My sister even contacted the shop, and they said they still have it available for purchase. But we made the conscious choice to sell it, and told her we refused to rebuy it. I kind of feel bad, but it was still a gift to us. Selling it was more symbolic than anything, and deeply strengthened me and my wife's relationship. Am I the a-hole for selling the family heirloom, then refusing to rebuy it? If OP was that strapped for money, he should have told his family, and maybe offered to sell it to one of them. Selling anything passed down in the family is an extreme act, and not offering it to the family first was a huge mistake, especially now that OP is able to buy it back, after knowing how important it is to his family. Seems more vindictive towards them than anything. I don't think OP is under any obligation to buy it back and re-gift it, but OP is still the a-hole for his general lack of caring, and his weird pride streak to not ask for help instead of getting rid of something that mattered to his family. And now let's hear the community's opinion. I love Sarah's boots says, "Oh, I almost made it to the end without judging you the a-hole, but that little bit about you could buy it, but you just refuse to, even though you know it is a family heirloom. You're the a-hole." Chai person says, "You're the a-hole for selling a family heirloom without giving your family a heads up, and bigger a-hole for not buying it back. There's a difference between gift and heirloom that's passed down. If you can afford it now, and it obviously means so much to your sister, you might not want it back because of being closer to your family now, but you can buy it back on your sister's behalf." Spinach clerk says, "You're the a-hole. Originally, you didn't know how important it was, which is forgivable, although you should have talked to your family before selling it, or even sold it to one of them. But now you do know how important it is, and you don't need the money any longer. Ask your family for help with the cost of the ring if necessary, but you have to arrange somehow for it to come back into your family." Edit. I want to clarify that the ring is open for my sister to buy if she chooses to, but I personally will not buy it again. Edit 2. Hello everyone. The consensus has been made loud and clear. I don't know what got over us. We will be buying the wedding ring as a gift for my sister, as one of the commenters suggested. I have 2 daughters with my ex-husband. My oldest is 22, and my youngest is 17. My ex and I married young, had kids young, and divorced young. He's since remarried, and I'm with a long-term partner. We usually co-parent well together. My oldest daughter had a baby as a teenager. I initially dreaded it. She was a straight-A student with a lot of goals, but she wanted to raise her baby, and I was afraid she would become unhappy. She's since become a wonderful mother and has gone back to school and earned an associate's degree. I'm incredibly proud of her. She's still with her daughter's father, who proposed to her earlier this year. Recently, I offered my old wedding ring to my daughter and her fiancé. It was the ring my ex got me. Nothing fancy, but better than the temporary placeholder they had. And it's been collecting dust in my jewelry box for 12 years. I wanted them to save money for their child and future, not spend it on a ring. They accepted it happily. My ex-husband saw our daughter wearing the ring and was not happy. He called me and said I shouldn't have given it to her because she had a baby too young and unmarried, and I was rewarding her for irresponsibility. I think that's silly, and told him as much, since she's taken care of her daughter since day one. He said our younger daughter should have gotten the ring if I gave it to anyone, or I should have just sold it and split the money between them. He didn't even realize I kept the ring in the first place and assumed I pawned it after the divorce. I think I did the right thing, but I'm willing to accept maybe he has a point. My other daughter is not very materialistic and hasn't said anything about her sister's ring, though I'm unsure if she even noticed. Well, to me, OP is not in the wrong here for giving the ring to her daughter. Her having a child without being married and as a teenager doesn't make her a bad person. It sounds like the ex wants to punish the daughter for what he's deemed poor choices. To me, she sounds like she deserves it. She had a baby earlier in life than what her parents hoped for, but she took responsibility, is actively parenting the child, and went back to school and got her degree while being a young mother. OP's daughter is doing great, and OP is being a great mom. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Cyrax2112 says, "Not the a-hole. It sounds like your daughter made the best of a difficult situation and prospered in spite of it. If that's not deserving of a reward, I don't know what is." NeuroWink says, "Not the a-hole. Rather than rewarding irresponsibility, sounds like daughter has been incredibly responsible. Took responsibility of bringing up her baby, works hard at being an epic mom, and still continued her education and moved her career forward. OP sounds like a great parent that wants to help her daughter out. Ex-husband needs to figure out what is causing all these feelings. Is he wanting to punish her forever for getting pregnant?" Lux Lilium says, "Not the a-hole. It's pretty common and fair, in my opinion, when there is one ring and multiple children, that whoever gets married first gets the ring. You aren't rewarding being irresponsible here. That's already happened, and it is what it is. They are getting married now and will want some kind of ring. It's nice they don't have to spend money on one." Technically, it's my stepsister, 30 female. I'm 21. Even with the age gap, my sister was super competitive with me growing up. It was her one-upping me every time over everything or making snide comments. OP got highlights in her hair. Well, my hair gets me tons of compliments, so I don't have to be so vain. Stuff like that. Finally, at 28, life kind of kicked her in the butt. I felt bad for her, so we grew closer as I tried to help her with things. She stopped with the competing. It was nice. I actually enjoyed being with her. Usually I felt god-awful when around her, but not during that period. Then she met a guy, got engaged 4 months in, and is back to talking about how much ahead of me she is. Everything is revolving around her. I started a workout routine, and her first response to that was, "Oh, someone's trying to look great in her bridesmaid's dress for my wedding." We were also shopping and walked past the baby clothes section, where I saw some cute dresses. Her response was, "You just can't wait to be an aunt." I discussed how I hope I find a similar dress when I finally have kids, years from now. She sighed and said, "I mean, if it doesn't happen, you'll just be a part of me and fiancé's family, and, I don't know, a nanny aunt to our kids." She knows this and has made comments like this before, despite how it hurts. We parted ways. Later that night, I sent her a long text saying how I don't want to be in her wedding. I want nothing to do with her future children, and I'm ready to live my own life, not be a pawn in hers. She forwarded the message to my family, who thinks I'm being overdramatic and cannot just be happy for her. To them, her comments are not crossing any lines. This is her way of expressing she's happy I'm in her life, and I need to learn her communication style. Am I the a-hole? Beak R says, "Not the a-hole," and her sending that text to the rest of the family is just icing on the crap cake. She sees you as someone who should serve her needs and interests, and not as an individual with your own desire and strengths. And your family is buying into it, saying that it's okay for her to treat you like a servant. I take a long break and go low contact. Find a new friend group, find a life away from her and your family, and see how it goes. Sometimes you don't know how toxic a relationship is until you go away and gain some perspective. CJack68 says, "I'm going to guess they've been enabling her behavior for years. No, she's not expressing she's happy, and it's not a communication style. She's deeply insecure and taking that out on you. It seems like there's some toxic family dynamics at work. Family counseling might help, but it's unclear if they do it. So you're right to make a break and focus on your own well-being. You might want to consider counseling for yourself. I think you recognize that you've got a lot more potential than you're getting credit for. Not the a-hole. Comfortable Fun says, not the a-hole. She's clearly insecure and is trying to beat you down so she can feel better about herself. Well done for taking time to put your feelings to her into words and not blowing up at her.